colours that we're going to tie in. See, I notice I hang it down at the end, at the back, just to keep it out of the way. The other strand, it's the lighter colour, comes in on the opposite side of the hook. So one went along the front and one's going to go along the back. Start in the opposite direction. Told you we'll get more efficient as we go on, hopefully. I may have to do some swift editing of this video so you haven't fallen asleep by the time we get to the crux of the fly. Okay, so it's important when I tie this that you can still see what I'm doing, so I'll just have to learn where to put my hands. Okay, so I started with the fibres pointing forward, then I folded them back and wrapped it all the way to the back. Again, just to make it extra strong and to stop it from moving around on the hook when there's a fish chewing on it, or even the whiplash from some heavy casting or long distance casting. It's not going to affect the shape of this fly. Now, if you buy a fly in the store, chances are it was made at rapid pace and they didn't go through these extra steps. There's nothing wrong with store-bought flies, but these ones will probably last longer, and when you make them for yourself, you tend to put in a bit of extra care and attention. So, at this point, I can bring the thread right back up to the bead, a couple of turns, and I'm actually going to whip finish and cut the line, cut the tying silk, which seems a bit of a surprise now, but you'll see what happens a bit later. We're going to come back in. This is the tool from my dissecting kit that I mentioned. It's got a plastic handle, it's a long needle, I've just twisted it at the end, and that's very, very useful for doing this little whip finish and stopping the line from twisting and causing all kinds of havoc when I do my whip finishing. So we will be bringing this thread back into the fly later on, but right now it's going to get in the way. So I'm going to twist that so that the fly is facing me now, and then hopefully you'll be able to see the technique. If not, we'll have to reposition the camera. I've got a light strand in my left hand and a darker strand in my right hand. If you look at an insect, the darker part of the insect will always be on the top, or in most cases, and the lighter part will be underneath, similar to an aeroplane in the Second World War. In order to keep the dark one on the top, make sure that when you make your lines, we're going to do a half hitch. We always want to have the darker strand going behind the lighter strand. The dark strand goes on top, and we just pull it tight. So again, I learned this technique from watching online videos, and it ends up with a very beautiful woven pattern that shows very well specified segmentation, very, very closely representing what happens on normal insects. Okay, so always the dark thread goes at the back, then it comes onto the top of the fly. Pull it. Take your time on this part because you want the threads to be touching. You don't want any gaps. First time you do it, you'll think, no, it's going to take forever. After a while, you get into a rhythm, and the more you practice, the better you're going to get, as long as you're practicing good technique. I found that the embroidery thread is nice and durable. All the guys down at the lake, when they see the flies I make, say, oh, it looks absolutely amazing, how do you do that? And it's as simple as tying a shoelace. It's the same knot. It's just a half hitch, but it's how you split them, making sure that the dark one always at the back and then it comes up onto the top of the fly when you pull those knots close and tight. I'll do a separate posting on how to actually tie this, so that you don't have to keep rewinding and watching this video over and over to get the technique correct. Okay, pull it tight, the same sort of level of tightness each time, so that the body of the fly is evenly spaced all the way through. There's no little knots and kinks, because well, we're going to learn how to do it right. Make it nice. You want to have flies that you can rely on, and then the more you make them, the easier they become. You can make them for your friends and pass them on to people that you've never met before, except on the day when they're admiring the fish in your bag. Okay, at the end we're going to tie a little half hitch underneath, pull it tight, and then wrap it over the top. Now, the next stage is quite important. Bring it so that you can see. Now take a pair of hackle pliers. The most important part is the weight of the hackle pliers pulling these fibers, or these threads, nice and tight.